3.
Have you ever felt pressure in school, whether it was from testing stress or social strains? Well, last year, Fox News covered a story in which 20 students committed suicide after receiving their test scores, and years before that, Amanda Todd posted her final goodbye to YouTube after years of being bullied. Every year, we hear it. School-aged children attempting suicide, and parents are left wondering, what happened to my once happy child? Since I have personally been in the school system and have firsthand experience with its oppressive nature, I feel that I'm a very good candidate to discuss how mental health is affected in schools. Today, we will discuss how schools negatively affect the mental health of its students by acting as a catalyst for bullying and social pressures, as well as putting copious amounts of academic stress on its students. But there are changes schools can make to fix the toxic mental health environment. Now let's discuss the first problem, academic stress. Academic stress is based principally off of both testing stress and general schoolwork pressures. This combination can cause higher rates of anxiety and self-doubt, which are the most common of the psychological health issues. Testing, being as heavily relied on as it is for students to be evaluated on intelligence, is key to why it is so damaging to self-worth. According to the American Psychological Association, 83% of teenagers reported of school being a somewhat or significant source of stress. Along with this, Perverse states that the National Institute for Clinical Excellence has raised exam pressure alongside other problems as a cause of mental health problems in young people. With tests being so heavily relied on and key to a student's success, it is no wonder that schools would provide high levels of stress to the students. Just like testing stress, general academic stress can affect mental health too, and it can be just as high. It is found that suicide rates rise by over 135% during school months, not just testing months, as suggested by Bier. It is also found that people with higher than average stress levels, which should be a 3.6 and on average is a 5.8 in school students, increases the risk of developing depression and anxiety, according to Cranage. This connection can lead to a crippling mental health generation if these stress factors continue to grow. Although parents believe that schools provide a great opportunity to make friends and develop social skills, it actually causes their child to face social pressures and bullying from their peers almost every day. Bullying is one of the most widely talked about side effects from school we hear about that stimulates the growth of mental health problems. As expressed by Bier, students who are bullied are up to 30% more likely to attempt or commit suicide, and Decker and Dejaka also elaborate on this by saying bully victims were most likely to have symptoms of depression and anxiety. This unhealthy relationship between children only grow in schools, where they are exposed to higher amounts of criticism. Social pressure can also range from bullying, as peer pressure can also stress students out. At my high school, a young girl last year who was under a lot of pressure by her peers to smoke a Juul had an anxiety attack in the lunchroom and cried from all the weight being put on her shoulders. They actually had to call an ambulance and she had to go to the hospital for it. So it is obvious that peer pressure in schools can also be very stressful and damaging to the mental health of a student. Students also who don't always conform to normal school opinions or popular opinions by other students can often be left out. The combination of bullying and social pressures can create a lethal low self-esteem and lead to mental health problems or even suicide. So how might schools fix these ever-growing problems? It's simple. Schools must instill a zero tolerance to bullying, both physical and verbal. Most schools in Lake County happen to have a zero tolerance to bullying physically, but not mentally, although mental bullying can be just as harmful as physical. So schools must treat it with more animosity. If schools could do this, then bullying would occur less frequently and allow for a healthier social experience. Along with this, schools also need to take the focus off of testing and put a student's individuality into the spotlight. Many schools focus on tests like the SAT or ACT to determine a student's intelligence and what classes they should be placed in. It also determines where students can go to college, which can also be a very big stress factor. However, some students aren't good at testing. Some students aren't great at math, but they're great at music and art. So when you test a student on just math and reading, you're not getting a full, clear view of what their intelligence level actually is. So if schools could focus on could focus on having a more healthy environment. It would encourage school could focus on a healthy environment. It would be more beneficial to schools. Now that you've heard about the stresses that you can find in schools and ways that you can fix them, I hope you encourage schools to rethink their values. Today we discussed how schools negatively affect how students' mental health could be by promoting bullying and academic stress. Again, we went over that testing stress is one of the now leading causes to mental health problems in youth, and also that 83% of students will connect school to their stress levels. So as we discussed, school is a big source of stress, and stress leads to mental health issues in the future. So next time you hear a parent ask what happened to their once happy child, you can tell them that school may be to blame. Thank you.